Hey guys, we're gonna do something kind of cool today. We're gonna do a review on a cooler I've had my eyes on for a while. This is the ICECO APL20. It's a 12-volt cooler that has a built-in refrigeration unit that you can go all the way down to, I think, -4 and up to 50 degrees. And we're gonna kind of compare this. This is generally for overlanding needs. I see a unique opportunity today for doing a video that they're gonna find a great purpose for why this is a really neat cooler for your everyday needs. Not just overlanding, I'm talking day to day. So let's do this. So for comparison, this is a hard-sided cooler underneath our ICECO APL20. And we are actually going to go to the butcher today to go pick up a bunch of meat. And we're gonna use both of these coolers to their full ability. But one of the benefits today we're gonna specifically focus on with the APL20 versus like the hard-sided cooler that requires ice is the ease of getting this in a small SUV like we have here, as well as the adjustability to take this thing down. We've got it set up currently at about 0 degrees. But I just think this is the neatest little cooler. Number one, I love the lid, how it holds in place. How neat is that? That's cool. But having the two different sides where you can put some different meats up here versus here, I like that. But the best benefit of this thing that I see, besides being lightweight and looking super cool, no ice. And this is gonna be a big deal today because some of the meat we're gonna have is gonna not be frozen, and it's gonna have paper bags around the meat, not plastic or vacuum sealed. So imagine having ice in here and having non-frozen meat. Kind of disgusting. This is where this is gonna save us today. So we're gonna get this thing put in the vehicle now. Gonna kind of see how nice this thing fits in this super small 2024 Buick. Look at the size, guys, of how nice this fits. Right underneath here, our 12-volt plugs in really nicely, and we can still get in here relatively easily. Now, let's just for comparison, let's put in the hard cooler, and you're gonna see how much more space this takes up for our little overlanding trip today. So, does it have more room? For sure. We got a bigger cooler, but we couldn't get this thing in this small SUV without putting down the second row, which if you had 2 kids in here, this is a non-starter, it won't work. This is the benefit of something small like this. We can still put this forward facing and put room to the side of this, but look at the difference in profile. Plus, I just think this thing looks super sexy. The cool thing is, even though the vehicle is off right now, we're still connected to the 12-volt display, and you can see it's getting 11.7 volts. Vehicle's completely off right now. Don't even have the key in the ignition, and this thing is still working. And the refrigeration unit is on. I can't even feel vibration, and I can't even hear any sound. It's that quiet. This thing is awesome. All right, so here's a cool feature. We just loaded up this cooler with a bunch of meat we're gonna freeze, and we got about a 3-hour drive back. And I just loaded this thing up with about 50 pounds of barbecue sticks from hunting and some wild game. They call them wild game bags, but anyhow, this is breakfast sausages and some breakfast burger, but we've got a bunch in here. I mean, it is packed. I'm gonna say probably about 50 pounds worth of meat. So the reason I like to put it in here is this stuff needs to be frozen, whereas the big cooler we got here, you can't freeze anything in there. I can just make stuff cold. Like we got everything full in here as well, but we can't freeze anything in here. It's only gonna be just chilly. So this is a big advantage that we can set this thing up for freezing while we're driving. Okay, so we got this thing back home. We just did about a 3-hour drive. And in that 3-hour drive, this thing was, it was obviously -4 degrees before we put all the meat in here. So I wanted to super chill it. And you can feel it's nice and cold. But as you can expect, meat that was not frozen, that was at about 40 degrees, when you fill a freezer with a bunch of 40, 45 degree meat, all it's gonna do, it's gonna soak the temperature out. So it actually ended up jumping up to about 34 degrees. This is standard with any freezer. So there's nothing different. But it's dropped from 34 all the way to 26 degrees. So it's already freezing, and it's actually gonna be dropping more. So putting this in the freezer tonight, I'm gonna let this thing run and treat it as an actual freezer tonight. And I'm gonna try to come here every few hours and just see how quickly this thing gets down to 0 with that hot meat or the warm meat that's inside of it. So here's what I would say about this thing so far. Super cool. I'm driving down the road and I was literally pulling up the app. And you should never do that. I was in the passenger seat, so I can do that legally. But I was pulling it up and just checking the temperature, and I put it on the max version, and you can kind of see it's on the max setting. We are at the, I think about the 15-hour mark. It's at 12 degrees. Show what we still got inside. Loaded up, still with meat. Everything's frozen, which is super cool. A little bit of ice buildup, but not really much frost buildup. And keep in mind, guys, I had this thing going for about 4 days before we actually filled this up. So that's pretty good so far, considering this thing's been running for about 5 days. I'm gonna check back here in a few hours. We're gonna see how long it takes to get down to 0 degrees. It is 10:37 a.m. right now. We are going to connect the ICECO PB250 battery, which I charge, it's at 100%. We're gonna disconnect the wall mount battery connection. The cooler is currently at 10 degrees, okay? I've got this thing on max, and we are trying to super chill to get this meat down to freezing. It's gonna be interesting to see how long this battery lasts. So we're at 100%. It's running right now. Let's see how many hours we can get out of this battery. Now keep in mind, this thing is running at full bore, freezer mode, max. Curious how many hours we can get out of this thing. This will be a worst case scenario, in my opinion. We're trying to run really cold and at the max setting. All right, it's been about 4.5 hours now. Let's see where we're at with the freezer. So we dropped from about 10 to 11, from about 10, maybe 11 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're at 6 degrees. So it's continuing to drop, and we're sitting at almost 23 hours since we loaded this meat up, and we've dropped this cooler temp about 30 degrees, 27 degrees, I think. Right now, we switched off the power, and we're only running off the PB250. We're at 48%. So we've used 52% of the battery in about the last 4.5 hours. With that being said, as soon as we hit 0 degrees, I'm gonna be curious to see how much the energy consumption drops, because right now we're running at max cold and we're at the coldest setting. So it's putting a tremendous draw on this. Considering the fact how little this battery is, the fact that I've ran this cooler for 4.5 hours already, and I've used less than half of the battery, and I bet you this thing's running at 100% duty cycle right now. Given all of this, man, this is impressive. I will be curious to see, once we hit steady state, how many hours we can get out of this battery. It's been about 8 hours now. Let's go check. We've got the cooler down another 3 degrees, so this thing's been running nonstop. You can still see it's in the max setting, and we're at 13.3 volts. I'm gonna tell you why that voltage is good. When we look over here at the battery charger, it's blinking. We're at 3%. This thing's about to die, and now I'll connect it to the standard charger. So this thing's made it 8 hours of nonstop 100% duty cycle. I think that's really good considering how cold we've been trying to do this. I'll do this test again, and we won't have it in the freezer side cold. We'll just do standard, and then we'll see how much longer this battery can last. It's flashing, so this is gonna die any second now. Okay, the battery's about dead now. We're gonna plug this in now, and we're gonna see how long, it's about 6:30. We're gonna see how long this thing takes to charge now. To a full charge. All right, we got the next round of testing. We just got this thing charged at 99%. Got this thing at, I think this is in eco mode. Yeah, we got it set at 37. So we're gonna see now how long this thing will run. I'll take a screenshot now to show you guys what time this is. And we're gonna see how many hours we can get now on non-max setting and at a much warmer temperature. Let's see what time it is real quick. 9:28. Now we're going to get this thing rolling. 99%, just pulled it off the charger. And we're gonna see now how many hours we can get on this thing. 8:51, I gotta do the math and see how many hours it's been. Put the magnet on the back of the APL20 just to keep the battery secured to the back of the cooler. But here's the cool thing. But check that out, guys. I'm still at 64% on this cooler. We're hovering right now about 33 degrees Fahrenheit. So a few takeaways. This shows you the big difference between running this thing in max and at -4 versus running as just a standard, fridge temperatures. You're gonna get almost 4 times the amount of life out of this battery. So I'm gonna let this thing run completely empty, and just to kind of show you guys what you could expect for different ranges of temperature of keeping the refrigerator cool. All right, let's see what time it is. 8:22, November 27th. This thing is still on, 33 degrees. Let's see where the battery's at, guys. Holy cow, we're at 1%. So in its current state, I need to do the math, but I think we got about 36 hours or 48 hours. I'll do the math on this, but this thing's been sitting here the whole time. That's impressive. Okay, it's been about 3 hours. Not even, 2.5 hours. Battery's already charged. Awesome. The PB250 battery, I think this thing is super cool. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna be doing more videos on this thing in the future. We got a big road trip coming, and I think that's where this whole setup is gonna be amazing. And how I plan on using this battery is basically as a battery backup. So imagine having the 12 volt plugged in to this to charge this, and then this plugged in to the cooler. And by having that, you could basically shut your vehicle off, and this is still gonna power your cooler. And then when you turn your vehicle back on, the 12 volt power is gonna charge this. So you could potentially keep a refrigerator running or cooler running in the back of the vehicle, like in a permanent status. Okay, we're gonna do a little journey today. We got the APL20 all ready to go. We're gonna do about a 10-hour road trip, and we are going to put some, kind of just show you, we got enough food here for the family. Got 2 things of barbecue sticks, got a bunch of lunch meat, got some different spreads here, more cheese sticks. Not even really trying to pack efficiently. And we've still got a little bit of room left. I'm not gonna put these in because there's no need, but how cool is that? Now, I've got this set up right now to connect to the PB250 on the side, and then when we're not moving, it runs off the battery. As soon as the engine kicks on, then it charges the AP, or I'll call it an APU, but it's really just a portable battery, but it charges the battery that then keeps the cooler going. So we'll see how this thing treats us on this road trip today. All right, end of about a 1,400 mile, 5-day trip. And I have to say, I'm super impressed with the ICECO cooler. Let me show you. So we had this thing maxed out the other day, and this is all that's left. And this thing has worked awesome. So we had this in the vehicle for about 3 or 4 days, and we had it in, we had it in the vehicle for 2 days, and then we had it in the hotel for 4 days full. I got it set at 35 in eco. What was cool about it is see the battery right now? We're still at 100%, and then it's connected in the back corner. But what was cool about it was I was actually able to run this thing in the hotel room for about 3 days, and the battery is still at 10%. That's incredible. All right, I want to dive into this now and give you guys my thoughts on this. So I've used this now for 2 different adventures. This thing is incredibly capable. My favorite part is I love not having ice in here. I haven't had any frosting issues around the inside, but I love not having ice because it keeps stuff dry inside. I like how lightweight this thing is. It's only 22 pounds. And when you put the battery on the side of this thing, it doesn't add any weight, but then you get extreme functionality. Now, in the eco mode with the battery connected between 35, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, I think you can get 36 hours. That's what I just saw in this before the battery, completely drained. Now, obviously, that's dependent on your ambient conditions. So this thing's been in 70, 80 degrees. Now, if you were putting this thing in 100 degrees or higher, obviously the refrigerator, the cooling unit will be on more. But generally speaking, it's not too bad. Also, this thing is so quiet, guys. If you didn't know, you wouldn't even know there's any refrigeration unit inside of this thing. It's that quiet. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this product review of the APL20. I'm going to put my discount code down below if you guys are interested in this. If you click on this link, it will take you to get additional discounts through the website or through Amazon. And as right here, you can see this is where we place the magnet for the PB250. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this, feel free to like and subscribe.